Welcome, everyone, to Boxing Scene Today here in the ProBox TV living room. Jimmy Smith, as always, in studio with the champs, Chris Algieri, Paulie Malignaggi. We're discussing today the return of Keith Thurman one time at 3 a.m. this morning in Australia over Brock Jarvis. The big question, is he back at 154 pounds, or was this looking for a big fight? The ring rust was certainly there. I got to start with you, Chris, because we were discussing this before the show started, and you went, he's still got power, but Paulie, you said he was taking on a guy who looked good, had the build, but could he make it real? That's the question.
And that's the thing. I think, listen, after a long layoff, you're going to find a specific kind of opponent. I think he had the specific kind of opponent. A hometown guy. You heard the crowd reaction that Jarvis got, so people liked him over there. Good record. It looks the part. Muscular, good-looking kid, looks the part. And then, Keith comes in and one-times him, like wipes him out.
One time for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
Wipe that down, folks. One time for the first time in a long time.
What I'm saying is, again, we like to have our movie quotes and whatnot. This is The Hangover. Instead of Mike Tyson, it's Keith Thurman. Just Keith Thurman. I'm just saying.
Still got
it. You know what I mean? Like, I liked what I saw, dude.
I'm gonna pump the brakes on that.
But listen, the guy looked like a weightlifting big guy. He's a little one-dimensional.
The aesthetics were there.
But you know what I liked? Keith showed different dimensions. It was like almost like he was working on things. You're parrying, you're blocking, you're slipping. He was showing all the levels of defense. His legs, staying inside, staying on the outside. In 3 rounds, he got like a little bit of all the work he needed. Jarvis is basically like, if you're gonna throw at me, I'm just gonna put my hands up. Each foot weighs 50 pounds, and to lift it off the ground, it's a lot of work for me, so I'm gonna be real slow on my feet. But I look muscular, I look good. And, Keith put the speed together, change his speed. You know what? It wasn't the super sharpest performance, but you expect that after a while. It's a break the rust type of performance, and you get the right opponent. He still got it, all right? I'm not saying he's going to be a world champion. 154, guys. 154 is, for me, the toughest weight class in boxing. Right. But he's a name, he's a player, and he can be in the mix for paydays.
Wow, guys,
I'm not telling you he's going to be a world champion,
right,
because
Paulie,
154
hold
is
up,
rough.
I feel like right now, a Scooby-Doo moment, like I pull off the mask and find out who you really are. Because he's being the optimist here, and Chris is going, don't call it.
Listen, I'm a nostalgic person. If you notice me, I'm a nostalgic. So Keith now is no longer the new guy. He's the old-timer. He's not even in my generation. He's a generation after me, technically, but it still brings me nostalgia. He gave a lot of entertaining fights.
How far back are you going? I know he literally...
How far back am I going? I'm going back. What am I going to do?
Listen, he had 2 great performances against Danny Garcia, who was never a welterweight, and Sean Porter, but we saw Sean Porter was able to be outboxed by Kell Brook years before that.
Right.
Those are his 2 best performances. But then he just sat out because he didn't want to fight Spence. So, how far back are you going? Because, listen, the guy's got 1 loss. He fought Manny Pacquiao. I mean, it was close on the scorecard. Got trounced. Let's be honest. Right. By a 41-and-a-half-year-old
that's why he took
Manny
the break,
Pacquiao.
right? He came back against Soldecito, did he?
Well, he took a break before that, too. He's taking a lot of breaks because he didn't want to fight certain guys.
He got married, but this is what happens, guys. We've said this already. You get married, you have kids. Happiness is the enemy, as Nicky Lauda says in the movie Rush, right? I mean, sometimes, you're not as mean anymore. It's a different mindset.
Well, listen,
but you can't. Then all of a sudden you miss it.
Look at the guy right behind you.
All of a sudden you miss it.
Look at the guy right behind you. Did he not get married? Did he ever take a break? Did he ever stop?
You know what? When he walked away though.
Okay, right. That's how you're supposed to do it. He stuck it through. He did what he had to do. He did everything he was supposed to do.
But then it's like this for some of us, like we're like heroin addicts. We need the adrenaline. We need the rush.
No, because heroin addicts don't walk away from heroin.
Yeah, but boxing is an addiction, is a drug too. I mean, listen. You could see Keith enjoyed himself in there. I'm not telling you he's going to be world champion.
He was fighting Listen, I called Brock Jarvis his first fight in the U.S.
Talk about that.
Who haven't you called, dude? You even called this guy.
Right. I called this guy, too.
Right. Talk about Jarvis.
I've called him.
Most of us don't know him. Talk about Jarvis. Once again, before air, you spoke about him a little bit. You knew what he was walking into.
Before this fight even happened, I said, this is a walkover. Yeah. And you'd be like, really? The guy looks the part. He's got a good record. Okay, that's all he's got. Yeah. Literally, I called...
Very one-dimensional, robotic.
One dimension is like being nice.
But he's 40 years. What do you want him to fight?
No, listen. Okay, this is my argument. I know I'm going hard on Keith right now. I'm not, because somebody's got to. Because this guy's really being nice to him. But anyway.
So still got
listen, I still got it. Jimmy, your initial question was, is Keith Thurman back? I said no, but this was a get-back fight. And he needed it. He deserved it. This was perfect. You got a hometown guy who literally, if he had anything, he had nothing. Because he's literally a blown-up 35-pounder. I called his first fight in the U.S.
at
135. No, beautiful combination. Keith has always got beautiful hands. Listen, 135, struggled with a journeyman. saw him get dropped. I'm like, I saw the guy come out. Like we all said, I'm like, ooh, look at this guy. He's a good-looking kid. He's muscular. He looks strong. He's got great. He's got a great record. Can't fight. So I saw him just struggle mightily with a journeyman. Then he fights Liam Paro, gets starched in a round, and then
Jarvis fought Liam Paro
and got starched in a round at 140. Wow. We are now fighting at 154, guys. This is my point.
He looks so big at 154.
Yeah, but he's not bad.
140.
He's a blown up lightweight, dude. That's my whole point about this whole thing. When you're going like you're really going, oh, he's back.
He looked bigger. He looked bigger than Keith.
So
I thought this
doesn't
guy
matter.
was like a bodybuilder or something.
Well, how many bodybuilders do you think get knocked out?
No. I'm not telling you bodybuilding translates to boxing.
No, I mean the class was apparent. Keith Thurman is world class. This kid, it doesn't even belong on the
undercard.
Hey, at
Right.
least Jarvis is only 2 losses as to future and former world champions, right? I mean, so he can still hang his hat on that. Paro ended up becoming world champion, and Keith is a former world champion.
I don't know what's going on to my right. It's freaking me out. It's freaking me out.
What'd you put in your espresso this morning?
Positivity. I had it 10 minutes ago.
All right,
Donnie Coffees.
All right, so gentlemen, we've discussed. I got Mr. Positive to my right. It's a nice little change up here. But what I'm curious about is,
and we're black and white too. Look. He's got
black.
Yang
He's got
today.
the white on.
Yeah.
Like perfect.
Yeah.
I got RoboCop. I'm ready to go. But listen here. So the future moving forward, Paulie, you said it perfectly. 154, probably the most loaded division in boxing right now. So the question is, when you move forward, he called out Tim Tszyu real hard. If you saw the interview after the fight, Tim Tszyu
Tim was ringside.
Yeah, Tim was ringside. They were jawing a little bit. You talk about Brock Jarvis not being even anywhere near the world class. He's going to have to fight world class guys at 154. Is he back in that way? Is it worth getting in there? What's your thought on his future at 154?
Absolutely, he's gonna fight Tim Tszyu next. There's a reason
they were going to do that originally.
Of course, there's just way too many storylines and narratives to this. Yeah. They were already scheduled to fight, and people were interested in that fight. As we got closer to the fight, I think we talked about. We were like,
the Aussies like doing that.
We weren't that interested in that fight. We were like, Tim Tszyu is a really breaching star, and Keith hasn't really been that busy. The weight class, but as we got closer, literally everybody in the boxing world was like, I could see Keith pulling out one more. Right? Everyone started saying that. Boom. Keith gets hurt, tears his bicep, which is an older guy injury. It happens. He has to get reconstruction, obviously. You're bringing him back. You want to bring him back against a guy that's not going to be too dangerous. You want a guy with some kind of visual recognition. Yeah. No, this was the perfect guy as a get-back fight. Like I said, you put him in Australia. You put Tim Tszyu on the mic next to Sean Porter, who fought Keith.
Yeah.
I mean, are we not fighting Tim Tszyu next in Australia?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Blockbuster fight. Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. I remember at the end of my career, I lost my fight to Tam Eggington. I retired. Then Jeff Horn beats Manny Pacquiao in the summer. I got a call from Australia being like, yo, because they want a recognizable name who they're going to beat, right? So I'm past my prime. Horn was it was his moment. He just beat Pacquiao. They wanted to make a defense with me in Australia, but I was coming off a loss, so you can't fight for the title coming off a loss, which is a rule. Which is a rule that they just make. They just abide by sometimes and not abide by when they don't feel like it. So WBO wanted a win for me. So the promotion wanted me to. It was in the summer. I remember. I think he beat him in August or July. They wanted me to come to Australia in October, get a win, small, like a Jarvis type of opponent, and then come back in December to fight Horn. And I just couldn't make weight anymore. I was like, bro, there's no way I'm making weight twice in the span of 3 months. There's no shot. I can't do it.
Bro, I wish you called me. I would have taken that fight.
I mean, you know what? We weren't as close, dude. I would have told him, bro, Coach Algieri, he'll do it, But he ends up fighting Gary Corcoran. I remember that was the defense.
Right.
But as you said,
but what I'm saying is, they do. This is like a
good
way to set it up.
There's a huge market
because you go there now. You make Keith look good, of course, right opponent, right, everything, and now people build up to it because in Australia they got great boxing fans. So now the Tszyu Thurman fight. Now there's a build up and there's an anticipation for it, and there's more anticipation now because it's like, oh, Thurman looked good. All right, let's do it.
But also Tszyu coming off a loss, Thurman coming off of a win
Thurman
against
knows
another
how to
Australian.
sell too. He yells. He'll make a scene like he did after the fight.
He will, yep.
Keith can show a little bit of personality. So you know what, it makes sense.
I'm coming around. I'm being more optimistic now.
There you go. We're all doing it together. But what I'm curious about is the psychological impact of Tim Tszyu. Not only the Fundora loss, disappointing, but a very, very close fight. Last time he got blown out. It's one of those things. That guy's a
boogeyman, though, bro. Yeah.
That one stays with you in a way that the Pacquiao loss I was there at
Yeah.
Pat Thurman 2019. He lost, but
Yeah.
not crushing any of the
He
crap
made
beat
it
out
to
of
the
him.
end.
Made
He
it
got
to
up.
the end.
He got up. He got hurt. It happened.
Yeah.
I mean,
Talk about that psychological side, Chris. You got one guy in Tim Tszyu coming off a shellacking, although he's more in his physical prime. The time off for Keith Thurman, but the last time he lost wasn't exactly he wasn't exactly
maybe Tim
destroyed.
Tszyu needed a Brock Jarvis type of opponent first too.
Yeah, and that's what makes this fight even more interesting because of where they're coming from. The momentum matters in this sport, and specifically Pacquiao. I came off the Pacquiao fight and went right to Amir Khan. People are like, "Oh, that's a bad idea." I didn't think so. I was like, "Listen, Pacquiao's Pacquiao, guys. He's a whole different guy." I made it to the end. I didn't have a lot for him that night. It was a bad night for me, bad cramp leading into that. But whatever. Like I was like, all right, I still belong here. No one else believes it, but I'm going to show it, and I did in the Amir Khan fight. Say what you will about that fight. I thought I won. A lot of people thought I won. I didn't win, but I fought my ass off, and it showed that I belong on that level. Thurman losing to Pacquiao, it's not the same as the Murtaza Aliyev absolute destruction of
Tim Tszyu.
He looked bad. I mean, there's no other way to say it.
He didn't look bad. He just looked completely
outclassed,
just outdone, outclassed, overmatched in every way. I was overmatched, but I was still physically in the fight.
Yes.
Tszyu was never physical, and he's a physical guy.
Yeah.
He got out-physicaled by a more physical guy, and that's scary.
Has Murtaza even fought since? I think everybody's scared of him.
No, he's the boogeyman of the division.
Yeah.
Of a very bad division.
But this is the problem with boxing.
Tough division.
What do you just phase him out too because he's too good? I mean, isn't that the guy kind of what they did to Golovkin back in the day?
There's a great quote about Aaron Pryor.
Yeah, but at least he had a machine behind him to kept him busy.
Yeah.
This guy's
better
not.
be of too.
Yeah, there's a great quote about Aaron Pryor in his prime. And it said, "A dangerous fighter with meager earning potential." Yeah. And I went, Mike, nobody want to fight Aaron Pryor because he can kick your ass from pillar to post,
but he doesn't have the money behind him.
Doesn't have the money behind him.
Hagler for a long time was that guy too.
100%.
I forgot who said. Paul, you might remember the quote, but it was like, "You got three things. You're a southpaw, you're black, and you can fight."
Yeah.
So it was like back then that was like
Joe Frazier told him that.
Was that Joe? Okay, yeah. So, of someone with great intelligence of the sport.
And
and
everything at that time was Ray Leonard centric. So those guys were on the outside, both chasing a Ray Leonard fight. Pryor was and Hagler was as well. But everything was centered around Leonard.
With the name, let's look at it in that context. Last question I have for you guys is, who's on the outside here? Thurman had the bigger name at one point, has had some time off. Tim Tszyu, more recent, but recently we're going to remember those losses. Who's on the outside looking in when it comes to fan popularity here? I'll start with you, Chris.
Tim Tszyu. Keith Thurman steps right back in. He's got to win. He's got the history behind him, just like this guy. Me and nostalgic. So are the fans. So it's one-time Thurman. He's got one loss to the great Manny Pacquiao.
Okay.
He beat Sean. He beat Danny. Like both those guys have moved on. Keith's still around. He steps right back in.
I'll give you some pushback to nostalgia. Tim is still Kasha's son, and that's there's a lot of love. There's a lot of love for the Tszyu name in Australia.
In Australia though, not here.
But is that fight going to be here in Australia?
Probably.
I think you make that fight in Australia.
100%. I think you'd be a fool not to.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Again,
guys.
going back to my example, they wanted me to fight Horn in Australia. I was done in America, So I think you do this fight in Australia, especially now Keith built up this momentum in Australia. Again, you've got a great fan base there. Tim is popular. Now Keith built up some popularity, and he's already a known entity worldwide. You saw the way they announced him in the ring,
There's
going to
be a negotiating argument, though, that they can bring it to America. Because they were supposed to fight there in the first place.
Yeah.
And then, but also, he's like, I'm coming off a win, you're coming off a loss, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you got to come to me. I'm the man now. You're not above me.
You know what talks? Right here. Scottles. The Scottles talk.
Money talks,
What
what
do they call money in Australia?
Dollars. Australian
No,
dollars.
there's not like a name, like a.
Whatever it is, they're going to be
Cash.
giving it
Cold hard
cash. That's what they're going to have in Australia. It's going to be probably Tim Tszyu. Keith, one-time Thurman. Will the comeback happen? Will it continue? Nostalgia, it's a powerful force. Every time it makes news here on Boxing Scene Today. Join us next time and find out why millions are watching.